Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Here's a headline from the Crypto Basic. Western Union to buy Ripple ODL partner Intermex in $500 million deal. So there you go. Western Union finally using XRP as a bridge currency. Is that what's happening here? Well, through Intermex, perhaps that will be the case. Although there's always the chance they eliminate that actually. Well, you'll see why I even say that. I'm not saying that they will, just to be clear. But there's a bit of a, let's say, troubled past between Western Union and Ripple specifically, because Western Union, which by the way, I believe they're the largest remittance firm on the entire planet by a lot, they have used XRP actually many years ago, and it didn't go so well actually. I'll explain. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so take a look at this headline. What a time capsule of an article here. This is from Fortune Crypto. Western Union is testing Ripple and XRP for money transfers. February 14th, 2018. Look at that. And I remember that news break, and I was like, oh, this is pretty damn cool. I wonder how this will go. I was optimistic, let's say, at the time. And this is after the crypto bubble had burst. Not everybody had accepted it at that point. But yeah, the cycle was effectively over. There were a couple coins that were still rocketing into January and February, maybe some slightly after that. But it was pretty much over. And price of XRP itself had been falling to that point because, again, like I said, the bubbles popped. But still, to see this positive news, I was like, this is great, because I understood, even though I'd only been in crypto for literally 3 months at that point, I well understood that crypto made things possible in business that literally wouldn't be possible without this technology, which is how I knew that the crypto asset class would always persist. And I understood that there's genuine utility with XRP, including as a bridge currency here. So I was very happy to see this at the time. I don't need to read the article. I just want to set the table so you guys know a little bit of the background. And then there's also this headline. This is where it starts to fall off the rails a little bit. This is an article from Yahoo Finance, and this is June 13th, 2018. Just several months after what I just shared with you. Here's the headline. XRP isn't making Western Union's payments cheaper, CEO says. Now, I remember seeing that headline, and I ended up, I hadn't launched my YouTube channel yet, but I've talked about this over the years as it's come up from time to time. It wasn't exactly a fair or reasonable test, nor was Western Union the best potential target as a customer for Ripple, and I'll explain more on that in just a second, because you might think on the surface, well, they're the largest remittance firm on the planet. Isn't that like the ultimate client to have? Not so much, actually. I'll circle back to that in a second, though. So take a look at this, though. This is from Payments Journal. Ripple gets a bad review from Western Union. So what actually happened here? Well, here's what the CEO of Western Union said in 2018 at the time. We are always criticized that Western Union is not cost efficient, blah, blah, blah. But we did not see that part of the efficiency yet during our tests. And so he's referencing XRP there. He says, the practical matter is it's still too expensive. That's right, folks. He said using XRP as a bridge currency was still too expensive, and they weren't seeing cost savings. Well, that sounds a little peculiar, because we know that XRP is so cheap that every single transaction is a fraction of a penny, right? Now, obviously, if you're talking about throwing exchanges in the mix, there are going to be some fees associated with that, so that increases it. But XRP itself is fantastic for moving money around, right? Well, there was a response from Ashish Birla. He's a Ripple, at the time he was Ripple's Senior Vice President of Product. And here's what he said. Indeed, Western Union has sent just 10 payments using XRapid to date. And I'll pause to note, for those of you that are new, you're like, XRapid, what the hell is that? That's the part of Ripple software that utilizes XRP as a bridge currency. They did some rebranding, though, and XRapid just became more broadly known as on-demand liquidity. And then on-demand liquidity, although we still say ODL, it's not actually ODL anymore. It's easy in parlance to just say that, so that because we understand what that means in our community. But ODL just became Ripple Payments. So there's been a couple rebranding steps along the way here. But when he says XRapid, yes, he's talking about XRP as a bridge currency. So anyway, indeed, Western Union has sent just 10 payments using XRapid to date. Far too few to reap significant results, according to Ashish Birla, Ripple's Senior Vice President of Product. Although the experimental phase is about 6 months long, it took much of that period for Western Union to lay the internal groundwork and allocate resources for the tests. So the actual pilot was only a matter of a week or two, Burla explained. If they were to move volume at scale, then maybe you would see something, but with 10, it's not surprising that they're not seeing cost savings, Burla said. They do millions of transactions a month, and I'm not surprised that with 10 transactions, it didn't have earth-shattering results. Yeah, so I remember when this happened, and I found it, even though I'm not part of Ripple, still I found it like offensive effectively. I'm like, you did 10 transactions, and then you just shit on them publicly? Like, what is wrong with you? It's kind of crap, throwing Ripple under the bus after 10 transactions? Is there no corridor where you would find XRP useful as a bridge currency? And so I don't know the internals for Western Union, but I will tell you this, and Brad Garlinghouse commented on this around that time period, because he was asked about this too. And he there was an acknowledgement that, look, Western Union, and this is actually why they're not the best target client, not that they can't be or that they wouldn't be used, but they're not necessarily the best target. It's because they're too large. It's the same reason that very large banks are not good potential customers for Ripple when you're talking about utilizing XRP as a bridge currency, because they have efficient treasuries. Western Union has such a global presence that they don't have that nostro vostro problem that a lot of like small and mid-sized banks have. They don't have to have those relationships because they have money already in basically like every market. So any market where they already exist and have a heavy dominance there, well, then what exactly is what problem are you solving at that point? If you have efficient treasuries and you got money all over the damn planet, you're actually not a great target client for Ripple. And so that's a rare instance, and that's why like the largest remittance from here, as far as I know, is Western Union. Yeah, it would make sense that it would be more of a struggle to use XRP and get savings. Now, that's not because of XRP. It's because there are other firms, exchanges that need to get paid too. And even if it's just small, if you already have efficient treasuries there, it makes sense that maybe you're kind of splitting hairs. It's about the same. Maybe you're not seeing the savings, but but still, if you're only doing 10 transactions, well, did you do them in corridors where maybe you don't have efficient treasuries? Do you literally have efficient treasuries in every corridor that exists? And I don't have the answer to that, but it just seemed like really disingenuous to me, But this is the same reason that large banks are not great targets for Ripple as customers, because large banks are actually getting paid by their smaller competitors to tap into their liquidity. Because they're the large banks are the ones that have the accounts all the world over. So if you're a tiny local bank, whatever that means, maybe wherever you live, and you can't facilitate all these foreign exchange transactions, you don't have those Nostro accounts the world over. You don't have money parked with other banks because you can't. You're too small. That means that so this is the way it actually does work. The smaller banks then pay their larger competitors to tap into their liquidity. That's what happens. So it's a cash cow for them. It's not great. Like if you're a small bank, you're frequently just offering the service as a courtesy to your clients, even though maybe you're not even making money on it realistically. You just want to offer the service, so you're a one-stop shop or closer to it anyway. But if you're a large bank, if that's a cash cow for you, why the hell would you ever want to change that? And that's why. And Ripple figured this out pretty quick. Like Ashish Burla, I remember him talking about how they were going after Citibank, one of the largest banks on the planet, and then they painfully learned this is not the target for us, and they started going after smaller and mid-sized banks as customers because they're way more likely to get benefits from that. Because again, they're just paying their larger competitors. So if they can stop doing that, stop feeding the enemy, that's a benefit, and there are actual cost savings then. And so that's why the whole strategy had really been more so that, and then smaller remittance firms like that. That's a great approach. There's a place for all of this here. And so it makes me wonder what's going to happen now that Western Union has bought out an ODL partner of Ripple's. Which brings us to the article here today. Western Union has struck a $500 million deal to buy Intermex, a user of Ripple's on-demand liquidity service. The move gives Western Union direct access to Ripple's technology through Intermex, while also expanding its retail footprint across North America and strengthening its position in fast-growing remittance corridors. Under the agreement, Western Union will pay $16 in cash for each Intermex share, valuing the company at roughly 50% above its recent average trading price. Both companies' boards have signed off on the deal, and they expect to close it by mid-2026, pending regulatory and shareholder approval. Western Union plans to integrate Intermex's expertise with its own scale and technology to expand market coverage, boost digital adoption, and improve operational efficiency. The firm expects the deal to deliver around $30 million in yearly cost savings within 2 years and to add more than 10 cents to adjusted earnings per share in the first full year after closing. They also see room for revenue growth by combining Western Union's global platform with Intermex's strong foothold in key markets. The connection to Ripple's ODL service is also quite important, and for context, Intermex partnered with Ripple in early 2020 to explore faster and cheaper cross-border payment solutions. Yeah, so Intermex, they've been using XRP as a bridge currency for half a decade at this point, and it works. Now, the question is that going to persist? Because like I just told you, Western Union, they do have their efficient treasuries, and if they don't have a bunch of Nostro accounts all over, it depends on like what geographic region are the vast majority of these payments going to flow, and they talk about that a little bit here. While the company limited ODL use in its core Mexico upmarket, it set up the technology in newer regions where it could present a competitive edge. With the acquisition of Intermex, Western Union will now have an active ODL user under its umbrella, something that it has not fully embraced despite running trials of Ripple's technology as far back as 2015. Yeah. So if this doesn't become something bigger, because I see some people online speculating, oh, this is great, and this is just the foot in the door, and Western Union's going to use XRP now. I'm just like, okay. Maybe they will, but, I mean, they've been pretty sour on it so far, and it's actually, in a way, kind of easy to understand why, because you're solving a bigger problem for firms that don't have Nostro accounts all over the damn world. Not the case for Western Union. So it's not that they can't use it to a greater degree. It's just less likely to be beneficial. And since we don't have the internal numbers, I don't know exactly what that looks like for them. So I can't give you, a full-throated, strong opinion here on that. All I can tell you is that I'm kind of skeptical of that. But that's why I'm blatantly telling you. Like, there's a chance they just stop using XRP now that they bought this company out because of their efficient treasuries. That's actually a possibility. So not that it's going to be something that's going to ruin the adoption of XRP or anything like that. It doesn't matter. XRP already won. It's a clear winner. Adoption is going in the right direction. There are tons of different use cases. Everything's fine there. But given that this is the topic at hand, I'm just sharing my thoughts on this. I mean, maybe it goes well. I'm not exactly confident this is going to be anything spectacular for XRP holders, frankly. Maybe my gut's wrong. That's possible. But, either way, again, it doesn't matter. In the end, it just doesn't matter. XRP is used where it makes sense, as it should be. That makes sense. If it makes sense here, maybe it will expand. There will be more usage with Western Union. Possible. And if not, that's fine too. It doesn't matter. We don't need this to happen in order for XRP to be validated and vindicated, so on and so forth. It already won, folks. XRP is an early winner of the crypto space, and that's what matters. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because if anything I say are right, that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!